Well, team, so it's the time of year of every quarter, sometimes every month, where the region's going to ask us, what is your regional technical advisor support you need? Yeah. So considering we have staff that have maybe not as involved in this process, or maybe new staff that are staff that taken on new responsibility, new staff, I thought I'd just cover a few things. One is some structure issues and some names that you may hear over your time that you work with CRS, but also to let you know how can you call down technical advisor support. So first of all, in CRS language, we often use two types of terms. One, we talk about program management quality, and then we talk about program quality. Yeah? So you could think of this as the MEDE versus CSI. So again, CSI would overlook a lot of the program management quality things. These would be like finance, human resources, administration, logistics, security. Again, I say CSI, I know CSI doesn't supervise all these people, but sometimes it's nice to just think about what side of the organization you're looking. On the other hand, program quality is, and we'll talk about this because what I have listed here is both for country program, but a lot of it has to do with regional and more specifically headquarters. So program quality, we often put them in different buckets. There is more buckets than this, but one is agriculture, WASH, microfinance. The other one is health, social services, and education. Social services would cover things like orphans and vulnerable children. Meal, of course, and then humanitarian response. Now, what other units there are is sometimes things like money. And I group these, I should highlight, what I'm highlighting here is not based on our organogram, but by themes. Make sense? So you may say, but this person reports to that person, and that falls outside. But I think for today's purpose is at headquarters levels for you to understand themes and structure. So under money, it's business development. Business development is really proposal writing, donor engagement. So for instance, whenever I engage with the donor, even around compliance things, we have people that help me with that. Charitable givings, this is where I think we talked about to some of you about major gifts officers who identify wealthy constituents in the United States and get them to generate, but also individuals through something called Rice Bowl, and that's an opportunity to raise money through a church service. And then the communications. And I put communications kind of under money because it's always helpful to remember when we talk about communications, it's really directed to the U.S. Catholic community with a secondary purpose to donors. But when we talk about what type of documents that we would post on a web page, it's primarily to generate individual giving, and that's kind of your primary focus. Don't know if you know this, but we actually have an office that is about 50 meters from the Supreme Court and from the House of Representatives. That's in Washington, D.C. So we actually do have an advocacy team. It's around 4 or 5 people. So whenever I go back to the States, I usually meet with them, and then I meet with senators or other representatives. Maybe there's a bill that they want me to not speak to the bill, but they may want me to talk about the what we call this type of advocacy called boots on the ground advocacy, expressing what we're seeing in the field. Yeah. Compliance and risk, that's a very big part of what we do now, and partnership and capacity building. So we have whole units that focus on that. And country program here, that would be like MESA with August. All right, so for general structures, I want to really focus on what headquarters looks like, and then what does the region look like, and even identify a couple names that you may hear. So I'm not going to go through all the names, but let you know what you may see. It's a very big organization, so I don't want to go over large organograms, but who are the ones that we often call upon? So when you hear that name, you're thinking, oh, I understand more or less what sector they're working in. So first of all, CRS headquarters is based in Baltimore. We do report to the United States Bishops Conference of Catholic Bishops. That was like United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. And again, the location is in the Baltimore area. We have regional offices. And, the one that we report to is EARO, East Africa Regional Office. But other Africa offices we have are SARO for South Africa, West Africa, and Central Africa. But we also have other regions such as LACRO, which is Latin America, Caribbean, We have the Europe, Middle East, and Central Asia. And we also have the East and South Asia. So we've got pretty much the world covered under these different departments. So when we think about senior technical advisors, and that's what this slide really is about, the senior technical advisors are there to really focus on agency level priorities, providing global guidance. You're in an interesting space because CRS is so large, you don't see the difference as much between a senior technical advisor and regional technical advisor in terms of getting support, or frequency of contact. But there are different roles, and what you would expect from a senior technical advisor would be a lot broader than what you would expect for a regional technical advisor. Yeah. So again, most of them are based in Baltimore, but some of them may be based in other places, such as Guy Sharrock, which you see a lot. He's based in the UK. So there's some exceptions, but in general, just think Baltimore. So names you may hear: Sean Ferris, he leads up a lot of our agricultural and livelihoods. You may hear Tom Shaw, who does a lot with our microfinance, and he works with Benjamin Allen, who does basically research. We can go and ask him to help us develop research questions for microfinance and so. Mark Beauvoir, who's really kind of the father of private service providers. He's worked a lot with the country program. Michelle Kendall, she does gender. Amy Elias, you may have met her at one point. She came in for the DIFSAs. And then Valerie Davis. Valerie Davis has been a lot more frequent. She's the one who helped us with the homestead gardening and the cost of diet curriculum. Yeah. These are also the same people as we go to develop our own proposal for next year. These are some of the people that we would ask to be part of our proposal writing team, or at least technical reviews. I mentioned the Humanitarian Response Department. They kind of sit within the structure, but outside the structure, only in the sense that they're dispersed all over the world. And you can find them anywhere. And that's really nice. So the person you know probably most is Jennifer Weatherall and her supervisor, Dina Brick, who overlooks that general department. Again, this is not necessarily mirroring organograms. You went to organograms, it's a lot more complex than this. So now the question becomes well, who's closer to you? Who could you call upon? Well, first of all, these are people that are based in Nairobi, or have been based in Nairobi until COVID-19, where many of those have maybe left the country remotely in other places. But again, just think Nairobi. Hannah has worked for CRS for many years. Ethiopian, I think some of you may have had a chance to meet her last time she came through, which was about 3 months ago, or the DIFSA. Health and nutrition, that's Hazel. Access to finance is Anthony. Finance, which is kind of more of an MQ position, but you may hear it as Manoj. We work very closely with them. So when you hear us talk about preparing our budgets, APP, donor compliance, we'll often talk to him. So he's more in there. We got Ed Walters, which is kind of temporarily holding on the position for agricultural and livelihoods. And then we have the IT and ICT for D. I believe Kingston's responsible for IT, and maybe it's Jack. That should be here. It's Jack, who I think is more responsible for ICT for D. And then last but not least is Neil. There's Joel's TD, as we would refer to him. He's more of a senior technical advisor, but based in the EARO office. But we use him a lot, especially for DIFSAs and major projects like that. But also Allison. Allison Long is the one who's managing the Neil technical working group, and I'll talk about that after this presentation. So now the question is, when you ask for support from a regional technical advisor, what are you paying for? You do pay for their services. It's good to know. Typically, whatever hours they work on your project, you pay for. Yeah? So if they're going to review a quarterly report, they bill us for that quarterly report review. Yeah? Now, if they're just having a general webinar, they're not going to charge us for attending that. But if we ask them, can you please work on this particular work, they'll charge us, and that's acceptable. Yeah? It's not a problem. It's the beauty of working for a global organization. If they do travel expenses are there. And then sometimes we have them print things, and then they may bring it with them, so we may do in the library lounge. The rules are not always very clear, so it's worthwhile for engaging me earlier on, making sure we all understand before they start the work what we cover. But typically we would cover at least salary, benefits, or travel. Now the question is, how do you get these people to work with you or for you? And regional technical advisors really are supposed to be seen as internal consultants, just not like counselors and wise men and women. They're supposed to be helping us on some stuff. Now for meal, they have very strong feelings with TD in terms of a capacity building. He'll help you, but he won't do. And other ones that we can get a little bit more specific work out of them. So a couple ones is you can always participate in either headquarters or EARO technical working groups. So I'm just listing the most common ones here. There's an access to finance, EARO technical working group. There's also a meal technical working group. There's actually some ad hoc ones. There's one right now on desert locusts. For ad hoc is we can always ask for support outside of this formal request. It's not a problem. The other one we do here, and I haven't put in the actual dates because I can't remember which dates we usually state. I think it's around the 22nd, 23rd. We submit a report to EARO and they come back with comments usually around the 26th, 27th, and then we submit to the donor. And then the reason we're meeting today is for you to just be a little aware of what is when I send out this email, or as part of the email that I'm sending out, I'll be attaching this YouTube clip, is the EARO RTA request. So I'll get this all the time and I'll send it out. And I know you can't see this. It's not a problem. We're going to go over what the major ones are, but the general rules is you cannot change the format. You can't be like, oh, let me add a line here. Let me do this. This would be unreasonable if you consider every project we put it together. This could be 50 projects plus whatever country programs. It's not there. We consolidate it. I consolidate it, and then we send it to Betel, typically, or Johannes Heili, somebody with Zemedi. They will take it and make sure it gets sent to the region. So, what are some of the details required? Well, usually we get it about the second week of every quarter, the last month of the quarter. So, makes sense we're getting it now. It's a time that they would often say, hey, can we plan next quarter? If possible, it's good to plan even 2 quarters ahead. Regional technical advisors, especially when they're traveling, are highly, highly sought after. You need to book them sometimes 1.5 months, 2 months at a time, especially if you need in-country support or anything. So if you say, oh, I need an RTA support next week, there's a very good chance people will be like, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, it'll be a low priority. We usually have given around 4 days to, hey, could you please respond and let us know. I'll show you where I keep it posted. Where I will always keep it is on up here. It's a LRO operations RTA request. And I always try to put in here visible the ones who actually, the most recent version. This here is an actual today's presentation, so people are aware of it. When you do this, general rule of thumb is just talk to me before you start putting in lots of things. You can say, hey, just talk to me, email me, Teams me, Zoom me, Telegram me, whatever me, yeah? Call me on a phone, yeah? This just allows us to kind of make sure we're not overlapping. I may see synergies, especially when we have people coming into the country. Some people say, oh, I want TD Jost. And I said, well, that's great. Now also I want TD Jost to work on something else. Then sometimes in this process, once we talk to each other, this is not necessarily like a hotel booking system. You still need to negotiate that space. Sometimes I'll say, yeah, I agree with it, and I'll just reach out to them and see what do they think. Are they available or are they not? Yeah? The key elements are, who is the contact person? So a contact person could be you, it could be me, but most of the time I probably have it, whoever is putting the request in, the head of that kind of unit or department would be the contact person. Dates, when do you need them? Poet, where are you going to charge them? TA description, this one, keep it pretty basic, but maybe 4 to 5 lines, but max. Let them know what you're thinking about. And then there's another column, which is any other information. You may want to highlight why this is important or any little details that they may need to know as they consider. Now let's talk about what this is not. All right. It's not like you book the RTA and then you just sit and wait and say, I booked them. Yeah? This is more of a coordination tool than it is a booking tool. Yeah? It's not a substitute for a scope of work or TOR. Say, well, I submitted my RTA request, I'm done. Now, you may even want to come up with a paragraph SOW so people can know what you're talking about even before sending it. And then you're expected to come up with a full scope of work because that's really important for an RTA. Again, they're like a consultant. They want to know, what is the background. They want to know, what's expected of them, what's the deliverables, etc. And then you do have some alternatives to requesting for an RTA or STA. So sometimes we can ask for a quote out of cycle. Yeah. So I don't want to say, oh, well, I didn't ask them last quarter, so I need to wait 3 months. No, we can ask. We can also arrange TDYs. It's not as common, won't be common now for COVID-19, but we've done that. And it doesn't mean that we can't go and look at contracting out consultants, national and international. There's benefits to each side of this. So in summary, what I like to do is have people think about this. It's always good to do, especially when we have a stable work plan to lay some of these out. But I'm going to send out now the form with this, and people can take a look at it. And I'm going to give people until I think, maybe a lot of times what governs this is the time that we get notification from the country program. That may only be 4 days. So maybe I'll ask people to submit something by Friday or Monday. But again, speak to me before you start typing it in, because it doesn't work well if you just type it in and then I send it on and I'm not aware of it. It's pretty common. All right, well, again, thank you very much. Feel free to give me a contact. Feel free to contact me if you have any further questions on that. Thank you.